Welcome to this introduction tutorial on PowerServer, key concept from A to Z, because you will learn the basic how-tos to create web apps, installable web apps, as well as iOS and Android native apps with Appeon PowerServer. Topics covered include the step-by-step hands-on tutorial, configuring PowerServer and deploying to the web and mobile platform, Power Builder applications that perform data window manipulation and generate native PDF reports. You will understand how to work with databases using both static and dynamic connection caches, understand what relationship exists between Appeon data sources and Power Builder transaction objects, and also how to master the PowerServer Appeon Enterprise Manager console for runtime tweaks and performance optimization. If you want to learn more about PowerServer and go into advanced features, you can follow the next presentation, which is called PowerServer Tutorial using extended web and mobile features. So, the agenda for today. First of all, an introduction to PowerServer, what PowerServer is, a description of PowerServer Web and PowerServer Mobile, how PowerServer works, and how to automatically you can have your Power Builder application webified or mobified, as this kind of transformation are usually named. And finally, what is the system architecture? Then an overview of the PowerServer Toolkit, the additional toolbar that you get into your Power Builder development environment if you use, of course, the Power Builder Universal Edition. Then we move to the hands-on, and during this practical part, we will learn how to create a basic Power Builder application that can be deployed to PowerServer. The application can connect to the database, can perform usual data window manipulation, but of course from the web browser or from the native mobile application, how to generate PDF from data window. Then we deploy actually this test application as a web application or installable web app, and also as a native mobile app. After that, we will review the main features in the Appeon Enterprise Manager, which is the PowerServer web console. About myself, I am a PowerServer enthusiast and Power Builder developer for over 20 years. Appeon MVP presented many times at Power Builder user groups and Elevate conference. My main recent activities are a large number of migration projects from Power Builder to PowerServer Web and Mobile, and also studies in machine learning and big data analytics in the context of a PhD in computer science. Now, let me go through the pre-requirements of the hands-on part of this presentation that will follow right after the slideshow. So I suggest you have a Windows 10 machine, can be either your physical computer or a virtual machine. Then you enable Microsoft Internet Information Service, IIS, which you can do from the Windows Control Panel, Programs and Features. That is the Microsoft web browser, on top of which we are going to install PowerServer. You can check whether IIS is currently configured and running, just opening the web browser and typing http://localhost. Once you do that, you should see the IIS welcome page that shows up. As a database, I suggest you install SQL Anywhere 17 Developer Edition. You can do that from downloading from SAP Marketplace. It is free of charge. The reason why I suggest it is because during either Power Builder and PowerServer setup, you're gonna be getting created the demo database that we will use for in our exercises. Now you are good to go to install Power Builder 2019 Universal Edition. Of course, we need Universal because that's the only edition that enables the PowerServer Toolkit for deploying PB app to web and mobile architecture. If you don't have a valid subscription, you can download the trial version. So whatever version you have, you can get the installer from appeon.com and then your user center. Once you have installed Power Builder 2019 Universal fully, you can check whether PowerServer is running, open the web browser once again, navigate to localhost/am, which is the Appeon Enterprise Manager, the PowerServer web console. You will see just a login page. And as far as the native deployment is concerned, we need the Appeon workspace, so a native app on your physical mobile device. Through this native app, we will be testing the actual Power Builder application when it is converted in turn to a mobile app as well. So just go from your mobile device, open the web browser, Chrome if you have Android, Safari if you have iOS, and navigate to the IIS server, to the IP, to your computer where IIS server is running, /AWS, and from there you can download Appeon Workspace either for iOS or for Android. First of all, what is PowerServer for those of you who have never tried it out? It is the premier solution for moving your existing Power Builder client-server applications to the web and mobile architectures. Plus of PowerServer is that the conversion is many times faster than conventional development. And the conversion leverage just your existing Power Builder skill sets. You don't need to learn any additional tools or languages, just Power Builder. And then through the PowerServer Toolkit in the Power Builder IDE, you will be able to configure and deploy the web or mobile apps. PowerServer Web is the lowest cost and risk framework for moving your client-server PB app to the web. PowerServer Web in fact automatically converts most of the existing Power Builder source code, including complex data windows and PowerScript, and the target code will follow the MVC, the Model View Controller design pattern, and it consists of JavaScript, .NET or Java objects, and HTML, XML. But the subsequent maintenance is performed in the Power Builder IDE, totally, keeping the existing development team highly productive and minimizing the problems and disruptions. A typical project can be completed in just few weeks or months rather than years if you go for a full reimplementation of the Power Builder application. PowerServer keeps the powerful desktop functionality that are proper of your Power Builder application. You will experience powerful UI and features that are typical of sophisticated desktop apps. But now you no longer need to choose accessibility over functionality. In fact, you can even seamlessly integrate with other Windows application and access Windows API and use peripherals which are connected to your computer. And the rich UI is not only more intuitive, but also eliminates the need for end-user retraining, because end user will see exactly the same identical UI they were used to in the original client-server application. Flexible deployment option, because PowerServer web apps utilize. Oh, come on, come on, come on. I'll do that again. Shit. Let me start from PowerServer Web. PowerServer Web is the lowest cost and risk framework for Power Builder developers to move classic client-server application to the web architecture. PowerServer Web automatically converts most existing Power Builder source code, including complex data window and PowerScript, and the target code follows the MVC model view controller design patterns and consists of JavaScript, .NET or Java objects, and HTML, XML, but the subsequent maintenance is performed in the Power Builder IDE, keeping thereby the existing development team highly productive and minimizing disruptions. A typical project can be completed in just weeks or months rather than years that are needed if you go for a total reimplementation of the original PB desktop application. PowerServer provides powerful desktop functionality. You will experience powerful UI and features that are typical of sophisticated Power Builder desktop apps because you can even seamlessly integrate with other Windows apps and access Windows API or utilize peripherals that are connected to your computer. And keeping the rich UI that is proper of the desktop application is not only more intuitive, but also eliminates the need for the end users to be retrained because they will move to the web application, but we will see identical user interface as in the original client-server app. So they cannot really distinguish between the original client-server app and the app that will be deployed to the web architecture. That makes flexible deployment options because PowerServer web apps can utilize native .NET or Java Enterprise Edition middle tiers. Here on the picture you can see that the standard Windows Power Builder desktop application with toolbars, master data window, detailed data window, 3 views, and tab pages is just fully retained in its user interface when it is deployed to the web. It's just running within the web browser where you will type the URL of the application, but then all the functionalities are kept. PowerServer Mobile instead is the easiest way to mobilize applications written in Power Builder. You can reuse code assets from existing desktop applications and deploy universally to both Android and iOS. It provides powerful mobile functionality also. In fact, you can experience data-rich mobile applications that open up the new possibility of mobile computing. In fact, besides supporting many Power Builder features, your mobile apps can access an extended set of plugins like the Apache Cordova plugins via simple PowerScript API. You can keep the mobile app always up to date because although your project compiles down to standard APK for Android and IPA for iOS packages, your mobile apps automatically stay up to date without any intervention from the end users or the need to implement software delivery, app delivery solutions. Of course, the APK and IPA packages are compatible with virtually any software MDM solutions or app store and can be deployed either publicly on the stores or privately on your enterprise server. native .NET and Java enterprise technologies, because PowerServer mobile apps use native .NET and Java servers as the middle tier, and as such, they deploy to Microsoft IIS or the leading Java application servers. And besides, they can benefit from the server-side scalability and security that these servers provide. So your mobile apps can readily integrate with server-side um, technologies like .NET assemblies or enterprise Java Bean. And this picture shows how you can build up beautiful and mobile-friendly applications with Power Builder only knowledge, by means that data window is still the main component in your development, and of course some attention to the graphical interface because it plays a fundamental role in mobile apps. Let me tell you how PowerServer works, either web and mobile. From the native Power Builder source, Appeon PowerServer can generate N-tier applications that can run on the web or mobile environment. Here you see the native desktop application can run within a web browser, can run as an installable web app, which is still a web application but without the need of an actual browser, or it can run as a native mobile. In that case, you may want also to change the UI to make it more, mobile friendly and crispy. The application that runs on the web, so in the first case, it will keep exactly the same identical client-server user interface. Alternatively, it can run as an installable web application, which stay resident on the desktop and run without a web browser, streamlining accessibilities because you get rid of the browser frame, the address bar, and power and browser, you know, toolbars and extensions. And as simple as web deployment is mobile deployment too, with difference that for mobile, the app will benefit for a more mobile-friendly UI, although it can fully encapsulate typical Power Builder business logic that consists of data windows and most of the Power script. And no application functionality is lost in this conversion. The entire application conversion process can be executed within Power Builder through a set of buttons that are called the PowerServer Toolkit. And these are basically the buttons that you get in Power Builder Universal. The conversion does not require the developers to write any Java or .NET or HTML or JavaScript. Only standard Power Builder programming skill set is required. And as I said, the toolkit comes with Power Builder Universal Edition, and the buttons in the toolbar allows you to configure the web server, set the database, and all you need to transform a client-server app into N-tier. PowerServer works with N-tier architecture. The main tiers are shown here in this picture. Each tier has a precise purpose and does not have to be necessarily in the same physical machine. You can have the web server, application server, and database in different machines, and you can even spread across multiple physical machines as a single tier. Typically, in fact, an enterprise application can leverage an application server that consists of a cluster of PowerServer computers in order to offer also load balancing and failover capabilities. The Power Builder applications are logically split and typically deployed to the client tier, middle tier, and data tier, each one having appropriate Appeon components and even third-party software installed. The PowerServer Toolkit is this set of tools that you find in the Power Builder Universal IDE for configure and deploy your web and mobile apps. There are 13 buttons which let you access the most common functionality, but you can access advanced settings in the PowerServer console that I'm gonna display and explain in few slides. So, how about starting from the first one, this button? It is called the config wizard, and indeed it is a handy step-by-step configurator that guides you through the most relevant steps in the configuration of your project. It provides a wizard for quick configuration of PowerServer Toolkit for web or mobile conversion. And in there, you will specify the web URL, where to publish the project, the database connection, the server settings, and app resources like ini files or DLL. So this is where you start from. The next button is Configure. It essentially lets you review, modify, and extend the settings that you have specified in the previous wizard. Then I jump to the Deploy. Deploy is the magic button that triggers and performs the actual code conversion. Every time you change your code, you may want to deploy it again fully or incrementally. Then let me tell you something about this button, unsupported features. It provides a detailed report of the unsupported features. Because there are architectural differences between desktop applications and web or mobile apps, the unsupported feature report will provide you with location, line number, and code that it's not gonna be converted to the target architecture. Of course, you can debug the application. The Appeon debugger lets you examine the execution results of the JavaScript code in the deployed application. Because, keep in mind, you write PowerScript, but you run JavaScript when the application is deployed. And this is also true for my mobile apps, because the core component of the app is native code, but on top of that, you have a layer which is built in JavaScript. Of course, in the backend where PowerServer is running, there are Java or .NET objects that are running, but your code, the PowerScript, will be replaced by JavaScript. And this is deployment package. You don't need to have the PowerServer Toolkit to perform the deployment to the production server. Or you don't need to provide the Power Builder source code to the end users. You can just build up any installable package, a setup.exe for the web version, or you can create a native APK or IPA package for Android and iOS. Okay, let me tell you something about database connection. PowerServer applications are three-tier application, so it's not anymore the client, which is the web browser, that connects the database. It will be the middle tier where PowerServer is running. So you need to specify what database PowerServer will connect to in order to provide, the data to the client, whether either it is web or mobile. PowerServer uses connection cache to interact with the database. The connection cache is the counterpart of the transaction objects in a Power Builder application. You can configure the connection cache from the PowerServer console, AEM, or from the PowerServer toolkit. In this case, what you will do is a static mapping between the transaction objects in Power Builder and the connection cache configured in PowerServer. Or you can configure the connection cache that your web or mobile application is going to use from within the PowerScript, realizing what is called dynamic mapping, because in this case, the connection to the database will be done dynamically from the source code. With dynamic mapping, that takes the precedence to the static mapping. So in this picture, you see an example of Power Builder application where you usually perform set trans object of the transaction objects and then retrieve, update, delete, whatever. In the web application, when Power servers find this code and execute the corresponding, JavaScript, the transaction object SQLCA or the transaction object SQLCA1 will be mapped to the connection cache that you specify for that application. Let me tell you something about the PowerServer Workaround library. The Workaround library is a PBL provided by PowerBuilder Universal to extend the PowerBuilder functionality to the web and mobile platforms. The reason is quite intuitive. Think about your phone. One of the basic functionality is, for example, to take a picture. But how would you do that with PowerBuilder only? We said that PowerServer converts PowerBuilder code to web and mobile. That means you can use the data window, the data store, the system objects, the UI. But that would not be enough because smartphones and web applications have additional, or just say different, set of functionality. And these functionalities come with this Workaround PBL, which also offers you workaround to PowerBuilder code that is not directly supported, like for example the web service proxy that you can just call with PowerServer built-in objects. Here in this picture you see the workaround library. It's a PBL which is included in the current project. And the workaround library allows you, for example, to detect where the code is running, the type of your client. So there is no need to maintain multiple projects, code in multiple languages, or get tangled in low-level technicality if you develop for web rather than mobile. So you have runtime functions that, for example, this Appeon get client type tells you at runtime what is the platform where your web app or mobile app is running. And then you can specify different code implementation accordingly. So in this example, you can have only one PowerBuilder project and implement functionality that are specific to web or mobile with a simple test of what platform the app is currently running. So Appeon client type will provide you, for example, a string, which is PB, web or mobile, and then you can specify different parameters, different code implementation accordingly. Okay, so it is time to demonstrate what we have seen in this slideshow. First of all, installation and pre-requirements. Very good. So this is my development machine. It is Windows 10, and we have to start with checking if we have Microsoft IIS enabled on the computer, which is the Microsoft Web Server, a .NET application server that you need to enable in order to install PowerServer for .NET on top. And you can install IIS from the control panel. So we click on Start, and we type control panel. Programs features. Turn Windows features on or off. And in this window, you scroll down until you find Microsoft Internet information services. And you have to enable this option, and also you can follow the PowerServer installation guide, but you need also to enable a number of development components because we are gonna deploy applications for .NET, and these components can be selected from application development features here. Okay, once you select the latest version of ASP.NET, then you click OK, and in a matter of few seconds, IIS will be installed on your computer. You can check whether it's up and running. Just open the web browser and type localhost so that the IIS welcome page shows up. Now it is time to install PowerBuilder Universal and PowerServer 2. You can run the online installer that can be downloaded from the Appeon User Center. So appeon.com. So you click on the account link and then User Center. Che c'è, Matilde? Che c'è? Dimmi, amore, dimmi veloce. Amore, no, me l'avevi già detto prima, amore, fa piacere. T'avevo detto, vabbè, vai, digli al Tommaso di non entrare qua. Porca madonnaccia, ragazzi. Ma che cazzo hai, figlio di prostituta, maledetto? Vaffanculo te, tu ma. So you go to appion.com, click on account link, select user center, and next choose downloads. And this is the Appion installer that you can just download on your computer. Once you do that, you can start the installation. It's this icon. In a few seconds, you're going to accept the license terms. And you can select the components that you want to install. You can actually choose between the offline installer or the online installer. Whatever solution, whatever choice you do, go for Universal Edition and select Power Builder ID itself. If you want to develop C# Web API, you can select also Snap Develop. And of course, the Power Server, Power Builder Edition, the Toolkit for the Power Builder ID, and help file. Click on Install, and the overall installation will take some 10 to 20 minutes overall. As a pre-requirements for this tutorial, I also suggest to install the developer edition of SQL Anywhere 17 as a database. This will make both Power Builder and Power Server to create the demo database that we can use throughout the tutorial. When the installation is completed, it's just a next wizard. You can check out that the environment is ready, so you start Power Builder. I have here version 2019, release 2, and build number 2170 at the moment, which is up to date with the new functionality of PowerServer 2020. But the purpose of this introduction session to PowerServer, it is identical to the 2019 that is available to the public as I speak. Of course, This is Universal Edition. You can see here because it's the only Power Builder edition that enables this PowerServer Toolkit, this toolbar which you need to configure and deploy Power Builder applications to the web and mobile architecture. Then you can also check that PowerServer is up and running by opening the Appeon Enterprise Manager. So just type localhost/am and you will get PowerServer Web Console. You log into with default admin and admin. I have PowerServer 2020 build 2190, which corresponds to the pre-release of PowerServer 2020, but as I mentioned, for the Power Builder IDE, to the purpose of this introduction session to PowerServer, it won't make any difference. But if you are curious to learn new PowerServer 2020, join my session on PowerServer 2020 Sneak Peek on the third day of Elevate 2019. So now we have everything ready to kick off. So it's time now to run this very simple application that later we want to deploy as a web application and as native mobile app. So the Power Builder application here is very minimal, very essential, no fancy user interface. The focus is just on core Power Builder functionalities, that is, connect to a database, retrieve a data window, maybe with 2 or 3 presentation styles. Okay, it's the list of employees from the Power Builder demo database, and the main functionality here is to save the data window content in PDF format using maybe the latest features provided by the native PDF implementation. So now you have a number of settings like what picture type you want to use for the embedded image, whether you want to set a user password to protect the document, a master password to also set additional restrictions, like for example, the document cannot be printed out or you cannot copy highlighting um, the content of the PDF. So just set the master password, for example, master, and we save this data window as PDF here on my desktop, data window.pdf. This is Power Builder. And let's check the file that has been created. This is the file. You see the employees and the print option is disabled, as well as the copy to clipboard, because I set those 2 restrictions for the native PDF data window. Okay, we are ready to deploy the application to the web, and we do that starting from the first button here in the PowerServer Toolkit, Config Wizard. You click it, welcome page, specify the web root, which is the name that you give to the application, and when you open the browser you will type server name slash this web root. Let's say it is Elevate 2019. The project type is web, and this is enough in the first panel. Second panel, I have to select the target that I'm gonna deploy. So I will select it from the disk, it is elevate, and the target is elevate, with a list of PBLs that belongs to the target. Of course, this application does a lot more than just retrieving data window and printing out to PDF, and the majority of this code, this example, will be demonstrated in the next presentation, advanced features of PowerServer. So if you have time, just follow it. Now I have a couple of server with PowerServer up and running, a local PowerServer on this machine and another one on the cloud that I will use, for example, for the mobile deployment. So here I just decide to deploy Elevate application to my local PowerServer. I'm gonna connect to a SQL Anywhere 17 database. And in the next panels, I have to specify the association between the Power Builder transaction object and the data source that Microsoft IaaS will connect. So I can just click on Add, select my local PowerServer. As I told you, if you install SQL Anywhere 17 or Developer Edition, Power Builder and PowerServer configure already some database, demo database that you can immediately select. So here I will select the Appeon sample, which contains that list of employees. And up here, I say that the transaction of the SQL CI is bound to this Appeon sample database, which is of type SQL Anywhere. Okay, next, I can of course select pictures if my application uses them. I can add INI files, I can add DLL used by the application, and it's time now to deploy. If I click on Finish, the target application, the web app, will be generated in 3 steps. During the first step, PowerServer Toolkit export the source code in a temporary folder, and this is gonna take a few seconds because, as I said, I have a number of PBLs which I will show in the advanced part of the PowerServer tutorial. In the second step, PowerServer Toolkit generates target files, web files per each individual object that are in my library. And in the third step, PowerServer Toolkit will actually copy those target files to the destination web server. So when deployment is completed, you can close this window, open your favorite web browser, and just type the name that we gave to our application, Elevate 2019. In a matter of few seconds, the application will start. You see we are running within the web browser, and we can retrieve data in several presentation formats. And it's important to notice that the UI is identical to the client-server version. So let me generate also the PDF as in the desktop application. I will put again the master password and I will disable printing and copy. I save to disk. I specify here desktop and I give a name, data window web. Save. File is created. We can close and just check on the desktop that the file is created, that printing is also disabled, as well as copying to the clipboard. There is another thing that I want to show you. It's very nice. Instead of running your app from the web browser, you can postpone this name IWRunner HTML, and the first time that you do that, a desktop link is created. Of course, your app starts, but you see it starts in desktop mode, full screen. In fact, if I close the app now and I see what has been created on the desktop, I will see this link, Elevate 2019. You can start now your application from this link. It will still be a regular 3-tier application, but without running within the web browser frame, which is very nice because you don't have wasted space in terms of the address bar, browser toolbars. And the last thing to do is to deploy this project as a native mobile app. So we create another profile, deployment profile, and this time I'm gonna call it Elevate 2019 Mobile. It's a, it's a mobile project. I can specify an icon if I want. I think I have one. And a little description that will appear just below the main title. Next, select again the same target, and I will deploy to a server that I have on the cloud. Select the same kind of database. Again, the binding between the Power Builder transaction object and the PowerServer data source. Next, include the pictures. I don't have any file, I don't have DLL, and just finish. Very nice, deployment is completed. Now we are ready to run our project as a native mobile app on a physical device. I have an iPad in front of me, so I will click on run. What I get is a QR code, which is very handy because it points to the application URL. But before running the application, I need to download and run the Appion workspace on my iPad. This is a way to easily prototype and test your app until it will be finalized and you're ready to go to production. At that moment, you will create a package, a native package with the PowerServer Toolkit and publish your app to the App Store or Google Play. So in order to download and install the Appion workspace, open the browser on your smartphone, on your tablet, go to the AEM login page, click on this link, and you will find the icons to download the Appion workspace for iOS directly from the App Store or for Android 64 and 32 bits directly from your PowerServer machine. Okay, so this is a screen of my iPad. I have here at the bottom to the left the third icon, the Appion workspace. I will start it. This is the welcome page. I am ready to add a new app. So add application, and I will point it to the QR code, which is right here. So just be patient a little bit. The app will be downloaded, and when the download is completed, we will run it. Okay, download completed. I will start the app. What I want to show you is basically 2-3 examples that we have discussed in the slideshow. Of course, the app starts, and as well as the desktop and the web version, it will retrieve the data window in several presentation formats. And of course, it connects to the database. But for the mobile version, I want to just select these three options, which will uh, allow to send an email. So this is the data window. I will click on this send button. I will see the actual file name on the iPad file system where the PDF report is created, and then a mail message is created and I can just send it. Second examples was related to the camera. I can just take a new picture. There you go, my computer screen, and I will use this picture, and the picture shows up in my app. I can also, go to the camera roll, select this picture from moment, and the last example was the maps. Okay, as soon as you open the window, the Google Maps show or the Apple Maps shows, and with the first button, I can display my current position, longitude and latitude. You can see where I am because the blue point, and I will tap on the third button to add an annotation at this address, 1F Shell Industrial Building, which is the Apple headquarters in Hong Kong. And as soon as I do that, the maps will move to Hong Kong area and will show the headquarters with this squared icon. Okay, a few words now about Appian Enterprise Manager, that is the PowerServer web console. So open the browser, go to localhost AM, log in, admin, and admin is default user and password. And you see the menu consists of three main sections. We will discuss the first two. Server contains information and settings for the actual PowerServer machine. So from here you can see the version that you're running, and then the number of active sessions and active transactions. From these panels you can of course kill a transaction if it gets blocked, kill a session, do some maintenance. You have logging, which allows you to keep on disk server log, error log, deployment log. Always important to have a look at the error log because it tells you whether communication goes wrong or you have a problem uh, on the server side. Resources, data source, you will see the databases that are configured in PowerServer that you can use from your mobile and web application. And cluster is an option that is available if you purchase PowerServer Enterprise. You can create a cluster of PowerServer machine in order to implement load balancing and failover features. Maintenance, you can do backup and restore of a given configuration. License management, you see at the moment I'm running a trial edition with 10 days left. And server security, if you want to connect PowerServer to a Microsoft LDAP directory and use, for example, LDAP user and password for authenticating and giving access to your applications. That's basically enough for the server part. Of course, have a look at the PowerServer server guide. And application is the second section, which is more important to developers because in here, per each deployed application, you can specify a number of settings. So first of all, transactions. Here you can select the given application, Elevate 2019 in our case, and specify the association between the Power Builder transaction object and the Power Server data source. Same thing that we have done from the Power Builder ID PowerServer Toolkit, but this is another way to do that. You can specify timeout for each application, session timeout, how long the application will be kept active. Otherwise, after here 1 hour, 3,600 seconds, the session will expire. 2 minutes for transaction objects, 1 hour for downloading stuff, etc. etc. Local databases, if you want to develop a mobile app, you can use SQLite or ultralight local database on the physical device. Power Builder features like keeping functionality for the registry. Of course, in a mobile app, in a web, you don't have the registry at all. And but still you want to use the registry get and registry set power builder functions. So for mobile, you can use an emulation of the registry by clicking on this option, which initially is empty, but in there you can do registry set and registry get. While for web application, you can just use, if you have permissions, the Windows actual registry. For the ini file, similar thing. You can use the profile string, set profile strings, Power Builder API. You can see what DLL your web application is based on, and additional settings for data transfer, performance. It's very important if you have some bottlenecks, some slow code, you can speed it up by using data window caching, client security, and mobile app distribution. Once you have your IPA package for the iOS native app or APK for the Android pack app, you can upload it on PowerServer and give the URL to the end user for downloading the native app. Okay, we are almost finished. Just a few words about Appeon-U. It is a dedicated session on appeon.com to developers where you can find PowerServer web and mobile tutorials as well as PowerServer web fundamental lectures. Just go to appeon.com, click on developers, and you will see the Appeon-U menu. So first, rich source of tutorials and lectures. Okay, time for questions, and thank you very much, of course, for your attention. Just let me remind you to stay connected with the Appeon community at community.appeon.com, or follow Appeon on social networks. And there is also a YouTube channel, Appeon HQ, where you can watch videos without account registration required.